Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Cynthia, and today's video we're going to be creating some holiday tags for holiday journaling or happy mail. So as you can see, I've already created a few just to give myself like an example of kind of what I wanted to create. I do have a video on my channel on how I like to create my tags, so it's going to be very similar but using some different elements. So here I have some trims, and then I also have like my ruler, scissors, some glue, and then I have some distressed ink, oh my goodness. And I have the regular like vintage photo that I use for most stuff, but I have this like tumble glassed one, and I don't use it very often. I just like forget or don't know how to use it. And I thought this would be perfect because it gives that very like frosted window, kind of like wintry vibes, and I thought that would be really nice for a change. Then otherwise, I have all of these scraps that are actually from my journaling from last year, and I want to go through some of them and some of the smaller pieces that I have, just because I don't always get around to all of my scraps, and I thought this would be the perfect project for this. So my first step, of course, is to ink all around the two tags that we're going to be creating today. And I'm going like generously. I'm not being too particular or careful. I don't mind it if it's a little bit messy. I hope that you are all doing really well. It's so nice to be doing some holiday crafts. I'm trying to get into the spirits. I've put up my tree and really trying to get ready for the holidays. So I've sped through this and I've done both sides of both tags, and my first step is going to be to grab some of the bigger elements that I'd like to be working with. I love working with music sheets. Vintage music papers I find are so pretty, and the texture is always really beautiful, so it makes for like a interesting but not too busy background, and yeah, I just love working with it. So I'm gonna use a couple pieces here. And then I'm gonna start grabbing some of the other elements that I have to work with. I don't know yet what I want to do, and I find that working with a small amount of things and really limiting myself to those elements helps me push my creativity, but also helps me use up these pieces, because if I have abundance of different materials I can work with, I find that I often will put aside the things I've already used because I feel like I've used them already and I want to use something new, but then those tiny pieces get neglected and don't get used, and then they just end up piling up, and all of a sudden your pile is very big and you don't know what to do with it anymore. So that's why I thought this craft would be really perfect before I start journaling into like a December daily type of journal. I love this little printable so much. It has to be one of my favorite. These little ladies are just absolutely adorable. It is part of a pack of vintage wrapping papers. I'll have everything listed down below. I think there's 2 different digital kits for that on TaylorMade Journals, and those are my not that I've been doing crafting like this for so long for Christmas, but like absolutely my all-time favorite. They're just so fun, so joyous, and Christmas time really is that for me. So that's why I really enjoy creating with those. I find that during this time of year, I allow myself to play with colors a lot more, with things that are a little bit more like cheeky and just like silly almost, and it just feels really good, and it brings out the child within me, which which is very enjoyable for me. So I hope you will all enjoy what I'll create this year. So I have some big pieces on that first tag, and now I'm ready to move on to the second one. It's not done by all means, but since I've got some good pieces, I'm ready to try and find those similar elements for that second tag. This one didn't come to me as easily. I played around a lot more with the different elements that I had, but it all came together in the end. So as many of you know, I really enjoy using imagery in my journaling. So this here is what I decided to do. I had this small image. It's probably from a storybook. Typically that's what I use, from like vintage storybooks. And I thought, well, it fits really nicely onto this tag, and why not use it on there? So rather than have this image glued down to one of the pages that I'll be journaling on, I can have it on the tag, and the tag can serve as the imagery in whatever I'm journaling on the day that I'll be using it. So I've layered it with a piece of wrapping paper. That wrapping paper is not vintage. That's just the wrapping paper I used last year for all of my gifts. And we actually just bought our wrapping paper for this year, and I would say the upcoming couple years. We bought a jumbo one this time around. But it's funny, I always pick things that are very neutral and very like not boring, but I think boring in a way, but I find it pretty. And I let my husband pick out the wrapping paper we were going to be using, and he picked a very silly looking one. And I mean, it's more fun for the kids, so they'll be fine. Just it doesn't go with my aesthetic as well, but it's still okay. Trying to let go of those things. So I'm just using my fingers here to press down the image, and I've used my glue stick for all of these little bits and pieces. I didn't have anything that I used that was thick enough to require any more intense type of glues. Now, another thing that you could absolutely do is sew around these tags. I didn't this time around, but you know, it would just add a little bit more texture. Now, moving back into the first tag that I was working on, I need to add just a little something. So in between the three pieces, you can't really see in the video, but there is a gap, and I want to cover that with either like a label or I'm not too sure what. So I'm just going to play around with these different smaller elements that I have. A lot of my choices were just not the right size, or the coloring wasn't right. And then I landed on these vintage post stamps. And I often just like forget that I have those. So I decided to create a little bit of a, not a cluster, but I mean, I I will end up with 3 on there, so, and I really like how that came together. After this step, the only step I have left is adding some fabrics. So through the hoops or the holes at the top of the tags, I'm just gonna play around with some ribbons and trims that I have accumulated from gifts last year, or my personal gift wrapping, and that's the final touches for these tags. I'll let you enjoy the rest of this process with music, but I thank you so much for being here today, and I'll talk to you all in my next one. Bye now.